Thank you, guys. I think by this time you are already aware that we have started an initiative called Demanding 28 Days, and we also have a YouTube channel as well as the LinkedIn page. Follow both so that you will always get updated info.
Hello,
Yes, Ikan. Can you hear me?
Nirman. Your voice is slightly. Sometimes it's not audible actually. So
Okay.
people are feeling the same issue. Just let me know. Somesh, how is it for you?
Fine, sir.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Okay. So now today one is basically one of the most crucial session because this session will be instrumental irrespective of where you want to specialize in long run, because this is basically the foundation for any analog digital RTL verification, physical design, layout. And the way we are planning to introduce our course is very simple. Right now if you see the gate or any other PSU sector, analog and digital electronics are always the mandatory subject. As well as when you appear for any VLSI job interview, it also asks for the similar skills or the similar kind of knowledge. So we analyzed and we decided that how can we merge both the expectation, that means clarifying the critical concepts which are relevant to GATE, as well as whenever you are appearing for any VLSI interview. So that's how we handpicked a very top priority concepts, and then we decided, okay, that's how we are going to prepare a very affordable course so that students can learn something new through this. So as we discussed last time, if you really want to pursue a career in physical design in long run, you need to know the electric circuits and the analog and the digital electronics. And on top of that, you need to know the signals and systems and control system if you really want to pursue a career in analog and mixed signal design. Now, if you really want to go into the power management domain, then you need to know also power electronics. And for the electrical students, if you really want to take up the PSU jobs, on top of all these things, you also need to know power systems and machines. So now today, our intention is around this analog and digital electronics, because that is the core, irrespective of the path which you intend to take. So with that, I think let's come to the point. So how we are going to coach yourself so that you can prepare for both VLSI companies and get together. So that's the intent. So if you look at the curriculum, what is outlined by the GATE, top one is the electrical and the bottom one is the electronics. So they are very similar. But at a first glance, it looks okay. There are so many concepts to be covered. There are so many. I mean, if you look at the textbook, probably it will have 500 to 600. If you really cherry pick, you will be able to find out by analyzing the last 10 years GATE question paper. There are very handful of concepts which are being asked, and if you come to industry, you are actually expecting that you know those concepts only. You are not expecting that you need to know beyond this whatever is mentioned in this. But the question is, whenever we see this curriculum, it looks very vast and very lengthy. So based on the GATE paper as well as whatever we ask whenever we go for any campus placement, we have summarized some of the key concepts which will be relevant and which we will taught as part of our curriculum. So let's take the analog first. So for analog, if you see, the foundation stone comes if you need, the foundation comes from the fact that you need to know the capacitor, resistor, and inductor, these three. Once you know these three elements, then the same thing can be extended for R2R DAC, cap based DAC, and other things. So whenever you come for an interview in industry, we are going to check not directly the resistor or the capacitor concept. We'll check whether you are able to apply this concept to analyze a R2R DAC or a capacitor based DAC. You don't need to know the R2R DAC architecture. We'll provide you the architecture during the interview, but then you will expect that you will be able to analyze it, and for that, you need to have a solid foundation or the understanding of the capacitor, resistor, and these critical elements. And once you have that foundation, the next most critical thing is filters, which are whether it is low pass, high pass, or band pass. Essentially means RC, RL, RLC, LC, and all these combinations. The third point, which I'll emphasize the most, irrespective of wherever you go, GATE, PSU, industry, and even in your day-to-day life in industry, you need to know these three electric circuit theorem by heart: superposition theorem, Thevenin's theorem, and Norton's theorem. Without this, you will not be able to survive in the analog domain. And then if you see, though the GATE curriculum vastly talks about both CMOS and BJT, and part of our curriculum will touch over briefly on the BJT, we'll more put emphasis on the CMOS because that's where most of the work is currently happening. In a nutshell, whenever we are going to offer our course to you, we'll definitely touch up the GATE BJT concepts because that has been asked. More emphasis on CMOS, and in CMOS also, all you need to know is the IV curve, that is basically voltage versus current relationship, and how we differentiate different regions such as cutoff, linear, and saturation. So whenever you prepare for any VLSA interview, you should put more emphasis on CMOS, less on BJT, and that's how we are going to uh, shape our curriculum when we are going to offer the course. And the second thing, I'll elaborate it in subsequent slides: inverter. Inverter is the foundation for every CMOS circuits, every CMOS based design. An inverter can have power, delay, and lot of components. And in subsequent slide where I have example so that you can associate it better. Then comes the small signal versus large signal analysis. So what is small signal versus what is large signal? Most of the time, whenever we take during the interview, the concept itself is not very clear to students. And around that only you will see it's also the same thing mentioned at GATE curriculum: common source, common gate. So then comes the feedback system, which is the heart of analog electronics, that is your negative and positive feedback. And once you understand the negative feedback, then comes the op-amp, and along with the stability analysis. Again, there comes a very crucial aspect, that is the control system. Now, you don't need to know the entire control system to do the op-amp stability analysis. Whatever is bare minimum relevant, and that is used in 90% of the cases in day-to-day job in industry, that we are going to. Positive feedback system comes the oscillator. Now, why we are emphasizing, if you see, we are emphasizing that whenever we are talking about negative feedback system, we are talking about op-amp, and whenever we are talking about positive feedback system, we are talking about oscillator. So we expect that you know that which concept is associated with which circuits. For example, negative feedback system is associated with op-amp, and positive feedback concept is associated with oscillator. So that's how we are going to cherry pick the concepts which are also asked in GATE, and whenever you face any campus placement or offline interview, these are the concepts which are frequently asked in it. Then comes the single-ended versus differential signaling, whether it can be a CMOS based or it can be a op-amp based. And finally, the last two components, one is the clocking, where you don't need to know uh, in-depth clocking knowledge, but all you need to know what is jitter, what is skew, what is duty cycle distortion, because that's what we are going to check whenever you go for any interview. And that's the last, a very basic idea about A to D or D to A converter, power management, and clocking. Now here we don't expect you know the A to D or D to A architecture. We don't expect that you need to know the PLL or the power management. But what we expect is you know what is the specification, or what are the top 2-3 parameters for each of these IPs. So that's what basically I have shown some of the key concepts in analog, which will be teaching as part of our curriculum, as well as we'll also take the last 10 years GATE questions when it comes to the analog. Now let's come to the digital. Go to digital, I think the combo logic basics is the must: inverter, NAND, NOR, XOR, AND, OR. And then comes the slightly advanced, which are encoder, decoder, mux, demux, adder, etc., which is built around this basic combo logics, which is an NAND or an inverter. So once you are aware about the combo logic, then one of the critical concept which we expect in industry, that you know two's complement, you know gray coding, you know binary coding, you know count. When it comes to counter, essentially you need to know the sequential, which is also you have various varieties like SRD, JK, and now, one thing here you have to remember is many of the students, even today, we have seen that they are not very clear the difference between latch. So when you come for an interview for a VLSI company, they at least expect you to know the difference between latch of the flop, and you are able to draw the circuit for a flop or a latch. So that is the bare minimum expectation, so that you are very clear how the setup time, hold time, clock to queue, set, reset, all these in all these parameters or all the input pins, they are associated with the latch or the flop. So in actually, if you see out of the 100 or 700 pages textbook, we are going to cherry pick very limited concepts, because this will cover your 95% of the topics which is asked in interview as well as whenever you go for it. And then comes the difference between synchronous versus asynchronous design. Then glitch. Now glitch is something I'll expand in subsequent slide, because we check that whether are you able to understand how a design can produce a glitch, and can you really differentiate what is the difference between analog mux versus digital mux. Then comes your meta stability, which is associated with glitch, clock domain crossing, FIFO. And once you are able to master, or at least you know the you have a good grip of these concepts, then comes slightly advanced things such as logic minimization using k-map. As just like in analog use, so you have seen that we expect, as well as the GATE curriculum also talks about the similar thing, that you should know a very high level specification of A to D, D to A, power management or clocking. Similarly, you should have a very 10,000 feet overview about what is SRAM, what is DRAM, what is ROM. Now, why these concepts are required? Once you come into the industry, people expect that you know at least how that block works at 10,000 feet level, as well as whenever you go for a gate exam, if you see that circuit, you should not spend time in analyzing the circuit to understand how the circuit works. You should immediately know, hey, this circuit works this way. Now your focus should be in answering the question rather than analyzing the circuit in the exam, because then you will lose time. Now with that, let me expand it with two examples for analog and two examples for digital. So if you see in the first case, I have shown inverter, which I have expanded to the CMOS in the right. And whenever you come for any VLSI placement interview, the inverter has some key features such power, frequency is the maximum frequency where it can operate, the delay, the supply at which the inverter will work, the output load cap and the input slope. And we expect you know the relationship between these parameters. For example, what is the relationship between power versus frequency versus supply versus output load cap, or what is the relationship between delay versus supply versus output load cap versus input slope. So if you cannot answer these things, then probably you are not going to be shortlisted, or you probably will not be able to clear the jobs in VLSI industry. Now, when it comes to slightly much more, when you are pursuing little bit much more advanced roles such as analog or mixed signal, I told, like, if you see the left diagram, what I have shown, that's basically a negative feedback system. So this is a negative feedback system. And because if you see here, the output is connected to the negative feedback of this op amp. In the right, I have shown the same diagram, but the output is connected to the positive feedback of the op amp. Now, the right circuit will be unstable and the left circuit will be stable, but again there are certain conditions you have to meet to declare, okay, the left circuit is stable, the right circuit is unstable. We expect you know those basic things, and that's the same thing has been laid out in the GATE curriculum. Now, whenever we come to the digital, the left diagram is for flop, the right diagram is for latch. Now, flop is something which is edge triggered, latch is something level triggered. Now, most of the cases, if you ask me, whenever we go for any placement, when we see 90% of the student is not. You expect you should be able to expand how setup, hold, or clock to queue delay is defined with respect to these basic building blocks. So that's the bare. So today, if you see, I am covering the bare minimum expectation. So definitely, once you go for an interview, the expectation will be much more higher. Now, the glitch. If you see in the bottom, I am showing a two input AND gate. Now, in the right, if you see, one input is going from initially both the one input of the NAND was low, AND gate was low, and the other input was high. So the output was low. Basically, A is 0, B is 1, so Z is 0. Now, when A is going from 0 to 1 and B is going from 1 to 0, definitely there will be a short interval where you will see both A and B both are high. And that will produce a small glitch at Z. Now, in interview, we will give slightly complicated circuit and we'll expect you'll be able to identify how a circuit is causing glitch, because glitch is something which is a complete no for any digital system design. And the left circuit, what you see, we usually call that is RTL or logic design, and the right diagram, whatever we are showing, that is a part of structural design analysis, and that is also part of verification to certain extent. Now, if I expand it slightly further to so that you can associate it with better, if you see, I am showing that there are three flops in the design. The first flop output is connected to the second and the third flop. If you draw the logic diagram and all the flops are receiving the same clock. So if you draw the logic diagram, you will see that all clocks. But if you expand it,
your voice is breaking a little bit. Can you just on this slide actually can you just repeat the content again?
yeah. Am I audible or it's getting disturbed?
Hello.
Yeah, am I audible or it's getting disturbed?
It's slightly breaking, but go ahead. Go ahead. It's getting disturbed, but go ahead. Actually, now it's okay.
What I'm showing here is, if you see, this is a logical diagram where one flop output is connected to two flop. Now all the three flops are receiving the same clock. So from logic domain point of view, if I draw that clock at point A, point 1, point 2, and point 3, all are showing the same timestamp because this is the logical implementation. Now, if I go to the physical implementation in real floor plan, you will see these flops are spreaded. There will be some buffer as well as some YRC delay. And that's where the concept of RC comes into picture, and that's where the concept of buffer comes in. Because inverter delay will be a function of supply as well as your input slope as well as the cap. So I'm showing right now something which we do deal in the industry, but during the interview we'll give you the same circuit and we'll expect you are able to explain it to us. But physical world, if we see the same thing which once we are placing in the floor plan or inside the chip, the clock one is coming earlier, the two is the most delayed, and the clock three is in between. And this is purely because in floor plan each clock is going through the different. We don't expect you to draw this. We'll give you this diagram in the interview, but we expect you to analyze and tell us the answer. So that's what we are going to teach you as part of this session, because that's what the bare minimum ask from a VLSI industry point of view. So with that, I will stop here, and we can take some questions or we'll go to Amal's presentation.
Yeah. Hey, guys. So I think what we are trying to put in front of you guys is that you already have the coursework, required coursework throughout your BTech curriculum, but only extra thing you have to, the extra mile you have to go is that how do you apply those very basic concepts to solve some problems. Okay, I'll take one example to develop a digital to analog converter with the help of a simple register divider concept. Okay, so register divider, basically if you connect two registers in series across a voltage source, the register will be divided based on the resistance ratio, right? And that is a very basic concept thing. I think probably you have learned it before coming to the engineering course. Plus two course itself probably teach you the Ohm's law principle. Now, what we do is that if you take six identical registers with this kind of value, right? So it some of them are 2x of the one value. So that means two of the unit R is connected in series. It can be implemented in that way also, right? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, and so basically 9 registers with you, and then you connect them in this fashion. What we do additionally over here is that we have an option to connect one side of the register to either ground or a reference. So there is a switch, ideal switch you can consider. So the bottom side of this register can be connected either to the reference or ground. Okay. So now let us assume that B0, the first register is connected to reference, and rest of them are connected to ground. So this register and this register are connected to ground. We can try to find out what will be the value of V out over here. Can anyone volunteer to do this? Basically, these registers are just based on that selection, right? You can get some voltage output. Can anyone volunteer, or I have to do it? I can do it.
Anybody actually who is slightly familiar with the Thevenin's, or
Yeah.
just say KCL KVL equations and then can solve it, right?
Okay.
Just give it a try, guys.
And give me 1 minute. I'll connect my notepad so that I can explain right over here. And if anybody is volunteering, just go over the computation and tell me the answer.
Or you can type the answer in the chat window.
Anybody who is doing it?
Apparently not. Okay, go ahead, Amol.
So, okay, let me do it for you if you are not trying to do. Okay, so what we will do is that what I said is that this is connected to VREF. So this node is VREF. This is ground. This is connected to ground, and this is also connected to ground. Okay. Now what we will do, we'll try to represent or simplify this circuit by using Thevenin's equivalent theory. So what if I just look at this component, right? You can see that 2R and 2R are connected in parallel from this point to the ground, right? 2R and 2R. So what will be the equivalent resistors? This will be R. This gets connected to ground. Now the circuit is simplified to this R. Okay. Now again I consider this portion. This is 2R and this 2R in series, so it becomes another 2R, right? So again, if you just replace everything, this entire portion, this gets replaced with another R. Okay, and the last portion is basically looks like this. Okay, you have 2R to ground and 2R to Vref, and this is your V out. Now you should be able to tell me what is the output voltage for this configuration. V out will be Vref by 2, right? Because two equal resistors are connected between these two voltage, and you are taking the output from the midpoint. Okay, so everybody has passed, means gone through the course, and the concept is also very simple. But what we have done is that we have just given you the configuration, and you should be able to apply those formula, those concepts in real life. Our most of the course material and classes will be based on this principle. Right? We are not going to teach you new theories. We are going to help you to get get into the flow where you will try to use the knowledge, your theoretical knowledge, into solving relevant problem. You don't need to be scared with the bigger like all the new names or problems, because there people gathered the expertise over the year when they start working, and then over the years they gather the expertise. But basic things you should be able to explain, and what we try to see through the interview process is that how fluent you are in applying your knowledge. That's the only aspect makes a difference. Okay, now this now with this problem I'll just scale the entire thing. So now what we have done is that okay, this is for the first bit. This is this comes for one switch. Now what happens if I do the same thing for this bit? So this bit will be at this point contribution of the voltage output will be Vref by 2, and now from here to here, when you convert, when you see the contribution, you will see another multiplication of half, because here we can convert the entire circuit by the equivalent resistor of R, and the voltage drop over here will be Vref by 2 because of the same analogy. And then as you move towards the left side, you will see the contribution to the output for that particular connection will be again every time it will be reduced by a factor of half. So if you want to try to do the same thing, you will see this equation. So V out will be based on this switch selection, like B0, B1, B2, and let's say switch selection is represented by a logic value, either 0 or 1. So when the particular bit is 1, that weightage, the weightage of that voltage gets added to the V out, and that's how what you implement is a digital to analog converter. So B0, B1, B2 is nothing but the digital inputs, whereas output is a voltage which is representing the number. And by using the same analogy, you can add more bits in this ladder. You can extend the circuit towards the left side, and you can add 10, 15, 20, as many bits you want to add. Okay, So now that's the theory, right? Again, now when you do a circuit design, what you have to understand the next is that what is the limitation of this structure? Like, can I really put 20 bits in this, or there is a limitation? Like, and and then you have to understand in reality all these components, right? I have drawn as R and 2R. So basically, 2R. Let's say you have drawn a 4 identical registers like this, right? This is VREF, and all of them of R. You can only assume that identical that they are perfect, but in reality, no real things are perfect, right? They will have some deviation error, and these registers also, when you implement, they will have error. So now your effort will go into analyzing what is the impact of the error in this register, and how can you minimize that impact. So those are the questions or queries you will try to explore over your career. Now that particular expertise will come over the years when you start working into that particular field. But when do you learn? Are you going to learn a new basic theory like register divider principle or RC shuttling principle? Are you going to learn many more fundamental theories like this? No. So what will make you little bit different or standing out from the others? What people in the interview board will look into you? And definitely in a 15 minutes talk, people are not going to give you most difficult integration or any mathematical problem or so. At least I don't expect people to solve a complex mathematical problem in an interview, because it's mostly we are judging a people for engineering job. So your intuition and then application skill is more important than your theoretical or mathematical understanding efficiencies. Okay, so that's the only point I was trying to say in this over this message. If you people have any question, we can try to answer that question. Otherwise, I'll just repeat the same thing. Like in this over this course, what we can give in summary, what we can how we can help you is that the first information we can give you is that what kind of skill sets are required for a particular job, and how many job profiles are available in certain area, like for EC or electronics graduates or electrical graduates, where can they apply, and how many job profiles are available open for them. And next, for each of the job profile, what are the basic fundamental course you need to learn, and how can you judge yourself that okay, you are good at certain things. Like for example, if you pick up analog circuit design profile, you just need to learn only 3 subjects properly. One is the circuit theory, the fundamental RC circuit theory, which is I think probably in a 3rd or 4th semester course. And second thing is the basics of control system. And the third one will be the small signal or the behavior of the devices like MOS, transistors, transistor behavioral models, like what is the VI characteristic, how does the transistor is modeled in small signal domain. So these are the 3 courses. If you spend more like little bit focused, and you feel you are comfortable in solving problem, you can pick up this subject. So the second point is you have to judge yourself. Where is your efficiency? Where is your fluency coming from? And similarly, there are multiple options, right? So you can identify your favorite subject based on your proficiency, and then you go ask the people in the relevant field, because I think we have a good mix of people from different domain. So you can reach out those people if you are really interested, and then ask how can you prepare for certain things. Okay, that's the only thing probably we are trying to do differently, and hopefully it will help you. Okay, that's all.
Okay, so guys, you can see me, right?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. So guys, this slide actually we kind of used in the SOC foundation course also, but I'll just leave you with one question here, right? So as we know, this could be one of the max path case, right? So where you have a max path from flop 1 here to flop 2 here, and then you have a clock propagation from backwards, right? So this is my sampling clock, and this is my sorry, this is my sampling clock, and this is my capture clock. So one question here, right? So question could be like, okay, for this particular case, if NMOS becomes slow, which one will become worse? So is it a setup time or the max path become worse, or is it the whole time or the minimum min path become worse? Similarly, let's say you have a aging phenomena, so where your PMOS becoming slow. So would that deteriorate your max path or the min path, right? So to understand these questions, and then these are some of the very real scenarios that we face in the design, right? So just we need to understand how aging impacts, right? So whether it impacts the PMOS or NMOS, whether it degrades slow or the fast fed transistor. And second thing is actually in a given, you should be knowing how to analyze the max path or min path, and then you should be knowing which are the factors that impacts your overall max path margin and min path margin, and then how those factors will change with the aging or NOVA variation or all those phenomena. So yeah, so the question is, okay, let's say if my NMOS becomes slow due to aging, will this impact my max path or min path, or will this deteriorate my max path more, or will this deteriorate my min path more, or it will improve one of the two? So yeah, so you can go ahead and try it, and then if you have any questions, you can write it to us through a WhatsApp group.
Yeah, I think this is a very, very good brainstorming question. Thanks, Ivan, for bringing in, because these are the some of the things which does not require any very deep dive knowledge. For example, like when we are talking about NMOS, PMOS, slow first, then you need to think through, like, are we talking about the duties, how the duty cycle can impact? We are giving you some brain teaser, because we expect you are able to pick up those hints during the interview, even though you are not able to directly give the answer, and then you are able to solve the problem. So I'll, I'll just give a hint. Just think through whenever you're talking about this design. This design has full cycle path or half cycle path, and and based on that, if my NMOS or PMOS is fast or slow, how the duty cycle of this design will behave, and then how it is going to impact the margin analysis. Because that's all we expect. If you see this design has only some flops, some inverter, and some combo logic, and as long you are very clear about the inverter characteristics, then you'll be able to answer. And that's what happening in industry. You are not, most of the designs what you are using is these basic blocks, and we have to have a very complete clarity about the functionality of these blocks. That's all.
Yep. So yeah, we don't expect you to answer it right now. Just go ahead, go back, and then think through it. Actually, just based on the hints that are thrown by Prithiman, just think through it and then see what happens to both the min path and max path. Okay.